Very assured. Nice. That looked good to me. What do the referees think? Very strong. I have to think there's a little bit more there, to be honest. Strong lift. Really incredible lifting here. But we've got Vena Matthew for 155. Very flared style, no tuck at all. It's slow, but it's moving. That's a good lift. Yeah, a nice pull there from the Canadian lifter. That looked decent. I would say so. At stake. Sits in, starts his pull, and that was great. That moved so quickly. Good lift for Matt.
So the first thing to say is congratulations to the winner, Gavin Aiden. The dude's a monster. He has a YouTube channel too, just his name, Gavin Aiden. I'll link it below. You guys should go subscribe to him. So before I talk about the meet itself, I want to talk about my last Worlds performance back in 2019. 2020 was cancelled due to Corona, but 2019 was not the best meet for me by any means. So the first issue was my peaking strategy back then was absolutely awful. What I would do is I would cut volume 3 weeks out, which for me is way too far. In contrast, for this meet, this Worlds, what I did was I cut my volume 5 days out, which is very aggressive, but I found out that's what I need to have a good performance on meet day. The other issue I found out is with competing at Worlds and traveling internationally for a meet, it's a completely different ballgame. First off, just traveling itself is an ordeal. Being in a hotel in a foreign country, you know, it's a lot of outside stress. Plus, you're gonna have a lot of stress just from being at a world level meet, you know, that's outside pressure. It's really gonna affect your ability to lift on the day. So because of that, I had the experience and knew I had to be way more conservative with my attempt selection. I just wanted to make sure I hit the lifts no matter what. And that ties back into Gavin Aiden again, because Gavin was just so far ahead of everybody else. I knew it was basically going to be a competition for second, because as long as Gavin didn't get disqualified, he wasn't going to lose first place. So there were like 4 or 5 people total that were contenders for the second place position, so I knew there was going to be stiff competition. And because of that, what I assumed they were going to do is try to sort of push their limits to the absolute. You know, their attempts were going to be the max they could get on the best day possible for them. But the approach I took was kind of different, partially because of the stress factors I talked about before, but also because I thought it was a lot safer route to take. So for example, on my squat, I felt that on an absolutely great day, I could hit maybe 310 kilos. And honestly, looking at the attempt on the video, I probably had it in me to squat 310 kilos. The thing is, the closer you get to that absolute max, the thinner the margin of error is. So if your technique is just a little off, a little misgroove, or maybe the judge is a little strict on depth, you know, you have a huge chance of missing that weight. So if I make that big jump and end up missing, I'm only gonna get my second attempt, and that's a lot of kilos that I just lost on my total there. Versus you stay more conservative, yes, you're gonna leave a bit of kilos off your total because you could have pushed a bit more potentially, but it's a lot safer option, so I just opted to take the guaranteed safe option rather than really push the limit. And out of all the lifters who were going for the second place position in contention for it, I'm the only one who made every single one of their attempts. So the strategy ended up paying off, and I honestly think it's a strategy that applies to meets at any level. You gotta be very conservative with your attempt selection, and you're gonna end up having a lot more successful meet days on average. So as for the details about the meet day itself, you know, I only cut 2 kgs of weight for water cut, which is very easy water cut for me. I learned last time that it's very hard to water cut in the comfort of a hotel versus your own home. Last Worlds, I ended up on my last day of water loading puking up all my water, and right when I was at the end of it, so what I had to do was drink basically 8 liters of water in like 2 hours to try and make up for it, and it was very rough and just not fun at all. So this time, only cutting 2 kgs, I only had to do a bit of water load, didn't really have to manipulate carbs or sodium that much like you would with a bigger weight cut, so it was a very easy cut, and I ended up feeling great the day of. So I weighed in, no problems. I rehydrated, and then we got to warming up for squats, and my squat warm-ups were feeling great. I didn't have a pain in my body at all. I felt in the groove, you know. The only thing that was bad was my very last warm-up, which was 265 kilos. Sort of misgrouped it. Felt really odd. And I'm not gonna lie, I had some sort of anxiety about that because I started having flashbacks. The last Worlds, that's how I felt. I felt like I was misgrooving all my squats and just was, you know, not feeling in it on the day. And I honestly started worrying that that might be happening here. But then I went out for my opener, 280 kilos, and as soon as I unracked it, it just felt so light on my back, and I was just so confident from that, and I absolutely smoked it. It felt great. I talk with the coaches, and usually the coaches at the high level meets choose your attempts for you, but they asking for my input, and we were basically on the same page 100%, every single attempt what to put in. So we would jump to 292.5 kilos, moved great, and then we wanted to stay conservative, 300 kilos for a third. Absolutely knew it was going to be no issue at all. Like, I didn't have a doubt in my mind that I could get it, and felt great, moved great. Didn't take a ton of energy out of me, so I had energy left for deadlifts too, and bench as well, though it's not as much carryover. But yeah, I was just so confident after squats, super happy. Another thing that really helped mentally is I was talking to people watching during the lifts, and they were just like telling me like, these lifts are looking so fast, so great. So sort of like positive feedback. It just like really helped me just feel confident on the day, and I absolutely credit that to helping me have the performance I did. So I'll talk about my training a bit later leading into the meet, but basically I had shoulder injury re-aggravation, so my bench wasn't the best strength-wise on the day versus what I was hitting in training before, but I'm so happy with how it went. You know, we hit 3 for 3, and if you look at my third attempt, it's basically the heaviest I could have gone. Any 2.5 kilos more would have been too much, but I was still confident I could hit it. And yeah, going into deadlifts, I was feeling great. So at this point in the meet, I've basically been trading second place with 2 other guys. There was another guy who would have been in contention for second as well, but he actually ended up bombing out on squats. The depth calls were a bit hard on the day, so I feel bad for him about that, had to end that way. But yeah, basically it was tight competition at this point, so I just knew I had to stick to the plan, make my deadlift attempts, and I could do very well. So we opened 290 kilos, which was the same as the opener I tested in the gym about 5 days out, and it was just smoked in the gym, smoked on the platform, felt super easy, and I was just knew it was going to be a great day for deadlifts. Took a 15 kilo jump, which was the plan going in, moved great, and I knew that I had a ton left in the tank. So the original attempt we put in was 315 kilos for my third attempt, secure second place. Somebody ended up missing their second attempt or third attempt, so we ended up dropping our attempt. We didn't need to do 315, we only need 310 to secure the silver medal. So knowing I just pulled 5 kilos less super easily, I knew it was there, and I'm basically just telling myself at this point, like, look, this is for the silver medal, and I've just never been so hyped stepping on the platform in my life as I was in that moment. So I pulled it, felt easy. The commentator even said that was easy, and yeah, she was right. That's exactly how I felt, and you can see I kind of celebrate a bit because I knew I just won silver medal essentially. Nobody else was going to be able to out-total me at that point. And it was just a great feeling, great meet overall. Everything really came together perfectly on the day. The travel was minimal stress as it can be flying internationally. Handlers were great, coaches were great, you know, totally worry-free day for me. I could just focus on the lifting itself. Everything just went perfectly. Made all my attempts. Everybody I was competing with, super nice people, all of them. Talked to them afterwards, the guys I was competing with, and it was just a great experience overall. So talking about my training leading up to it for squats, honestly it wasn't the best at all. I talked about how I had that really bad knee injury about a year ago, and honestly for a while after that injury I was wondering if I'd ever be able to squat the same again. And then maybe 2 months out I re-aggravated it. It felt terrible, but I just stayed calm, focused on the process, and then like literally my second to last squat session before going to Worlds, it just really started to click, and I finally felt like I was in my groove again. And then my very last squat day, I have a ton of fatigue then because I've been peaking and adding volume, and squats were just moving great, and I knew I was going to be able to have a good day on squats. So on bench, a bit over a month out, I re-aggravated my shoulder injury. I think it was because I was benching on these really skinny, thin benches at a commercial gym, and they're just not the best for shoulder support. Re-aggravated it. So what I had to do was cut my volume a ton and go really light. I was doing like singles with 225 pounds, and that was all my workout was like 3 singles of 225 at one point. A couple weeks out, I had gotten to the point where I could bench pain-free, but my volume had been cut so much that I detrained so much that the strength just wasn't there. But it is what it is, and I learned that you just gotta cut out the stress like that and just focus on what you can control and just do the best you can with it, and that's what I did, and it ended up being just fine on the day. That's something I really learned between the first Worlds I went to and this one, is to just focus on the process rather than the outcome itself. You know, a lot of times outcomes, and this goes for any field, not just lifting, but anything in your life, you know, a lot of times outside factors are going to affect the outcome. It's not really in your control what's going to happen. So if you focus on the process, the things you can control, that's a good use of stress. Don't stress about stuff that you can't control. And finally, deadlifts. Deadlifts felt great, honestly. All training cycle felt great on the day. One of the 3 lifts at least was going well. Because of that squat knee injury, I basically could push volume on deadlifts a ton, and it paid off. Everything was feeling great. And if you look at my third pull, 310, I had way more in the tank. Probably could have pulled, I don't know how, I don't want to speculate, but you know, I just felt great on the day. My strength was feeling amazing on that lift, and I couldn't be happier. So that's essentially it. You know, I learned a ton from competing internationally before, and I know if I didn't have that experience, I would have not had as successful a day as I did. Overall, couldn't be happier with the outcome. Stuck to my plan of staying conservative, making attempts. It all paid off. I got what I came for. That was my goal coming in. Win the silver medal, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to beat Gavin Aiden. I got a ton of messages from people encouraging me and congratulating me during the meet and after, respectively. And I want to say thank you to everybody who did that. That means a lot to me. That's basically it for the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, help me build the channel. And now that I'm back in Canada, you know, back to normal, I do plan on filming more long content. I have a how-to squat tutorial planned. I'm going to start filming it basically right after I finish this video. So that's pretty much it. And once again, thanks for watching.